Thank you. Ruchika, please go ahead.
Yeah. I'll thanks a lot, Ritu and Chetna, for a very warm welcome. So I'll just start the session with that. When you have gone for a cochlear implant, first thing is accepting the hearing loss in our babies. The accepting the child with the hearing loss and then going for a cochlear implant surgery in itself is a very big challenge. And we all have accepted it and we have gone for the surgery. Now, what happens after the surgery? Is it after the surgery the child starts listening? No. The child doesn't start listening just after the surgery. It is a switch on day when the child starts listening. What basically is switch on? It is when your audiologist will connect the internal parts which the surgeon has implanted inside your child to the external components. After the surgery, you won't see anything outside. Everything is inside. That is that which the surgeon has put the internal components inside. Now, on the switch on day, the audiologist will fix the external components, the speech processor, the coil, and everything. It will synchronize it with the internal components. So, when does the switch on happen? Switch on happens just after the surgery, 3 days after the surgery, when it happens. Earlier, we used to do the switch on after 3 to 4 weeks of the surgery because we were new in the cochlear implant surgery and the surgeons were not very trained. And the system and the cochlear implants were also not very much sophisticated. But with the advancement in technologies, now the switch ons are happening just after the 5th day of the cochlear implant surgery. After just 5 days of the we can do the switch on. But again,
doesn't the wound have to heal? Does the wound heal by that time?
That's what I'm saying. The wound heals because the surgeons we have very expert surgeons in India now. So the wounds heal. It's not that complicated surgery as it used to be. There used to be a lot of bleeding, but now we have very good trained surgeons in the country. And I again say that it is not a protocol that every clinic follows. It depends upon the cochlear implant team. But as young as you can do just the second day, but there are very few people who are doing that, but many people are doing after the 5th day. Now you will ask me,
is 5 days a standard now, or it is like a choice?
It's not standard. It's not choice. It is. We are doing at Army Hospital RNR within a week. There are clinics. I will not name the clinics, but in India also people are doing at 5th day. There are clinics which are doing after the 2nd day also. Now the point comes, why they want to do early switch on when they have waited for so long? Why? Because there are few implant surgeons, implant centers in the country. Habilitation can happen in their parent place also. Already the implant cost is so high. Then when the parents come to the clinic for the surgery, they are staying in the hotels or they are staying somewhere. So it's painful for them to shed out the money. So that is taking care of this. It doesn't make a difference if you have waited for so long. You can wait for 1 week, 2 weeks. But the parents have to. We are staying in Delhi. We are staying in the metropolitan cities. But what to those who are coming from far off places for the surgeries? People travel so much. So looking into all these factors, that is the reason the studies have been performed so that we can reduce the surgery and the switch on duration. So that is the reason but I'll still say it depends upon the cochlear implant center because they know it better what kind of surgeries they are doing, what kind of facilities they have. And it doesn't mean that if somebody is doing at 3rd day or if somebody is doing after 2 weeks, he is better and that person is better. It's just the protocol of a center.
What would you advise, Ruchika?
I will advise within a week the switch on can happen because the surgeons are very much trained. All the surgeons, I would say, they are very trained. Now the surgeries are not that bleeding and it doesn't require that much of time.
Okay.
So I myself have done a study and published it, and we've done it on around 40 patients, and now it's a regular protocol in Army Hospital. We are doing it within a week.
Within a week. Okay.
Very interesting. Very good facts which you've told us today.
So basically, switch on testing is never done at the time while the child is on the operating table, is it? You do not check whether the sound is going or not on the operating table.
we do check. That is called an NRT, because it is basically an evoked compound action potential. It is basically, an audiologist tell the surgeon that your implant is functioning well. It has gone inside and it is functioning well.
What did you say it is?
It is
NRT.
and
NRT.
every company, actually, it is electrical compound action potential. Every company has its own name.
Okay.
Cochlear calls it NRT, neural response telemetry. Advanced Bionics calls it NRI, neural response imaging. Medal calls it ART, acoustic testing.
Okay.
Okay. It is basically the action potential of the eighth nerve. Eighth nerve is an auditory nerve. So
Right.
we basically check whether the eighth nerve, whether the implant is stimulating the nerve or not. Because if the implant is stimulating the nerve, then this means the implant is functioning well. The nerve will take the sound to the brain, and the person can hear the sound.
Hear the sound.
So it is basically an action potential
that's
of
the
the
first
eighth
test.
nerve. Yeah,
So
that
that's
is the
the first
first step.
test. Okay.
That is done intraoperatively.
Okay.
Okay. So that first, it has two advantages. One is that it helps the surgeon to be confident. Okay, he has placed the electrodes at the right place. Second advantage it gives us, that nowadays the candidacy criteria is widening. We are implanting younger and younger children, and we are implanting children with many disabilities, because we want that at least one disability. If some children are deaf and blind also, some children have slight mental retardation. So it's very difficult to do mapping with those children, because they can't tell you that they are hearing or not.
Yeah.
So it helps us to map their sessions also, because when they are under the anesthesia, you can give them the loud sound
Yeah.
because they're not hearing. So it helps the audiologist to program the processor also afterwards. So there are two advantages of doing an NRT, and usually all the centers, they do NRT intraoperatively. After the surgeon has done the surgery, I'm sorry to use NRT words because we are habitual using it, but it is basically an ECAP, electrically compound action potential. Every company has its own name: NRT, NRI, ART.
Okay.
And this is what an NRT. Now the switch on. Now I have told you when this can happen. It can happen after 5 days, after a week, after 2 weeks, or earlier it was 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And the reason for early switch on. Now what happens in the switch on? The audiologist synchronize the external and the internal components. It is a very big day for the family, because it is the day when the child will hear the sound for the first time.
Yeah.
And
It's a celebration. I remember
children give weird responses.
Yes.
When the audiologist on the processor, some children, they cry, some howl, some they give a beautiful smile, and some they just don't react, because all 5 fingers are not equal.
Correct.
So
every child,
there are children who will not react to the sound at all.
yes, they will not react, because it depends. कईयों को चोट लगती है तो वो इतना शोर मचाते हैं, कईयों को इतनी बड़ी चोट लग जाती है और वो फिर भी चुपचाप बैठे रहते हैं, कईयों को बहुत खुशी मिलती है तो वो गा गा के बताते हैं, कई लोग चुपचाप. So children are also like that. Some children are not very expressive. They will just, but don't worry if your child has not smiled, or have not howled, or has not cried during the switch on. It's okay. An audiologist has number of ways to check whether the child is listening or not. So don't worry if a child is not giving any reaction on the day of switch on. But usually the reaction is a smile, sometimes a howling. It depends upon children to children how they will react. Then at the day of the switch on, your audiologist will explain you the kit.
No, hold on. So this switch on, what is done? Whatever is done at the time of switch on, does it hurt them in any way? Is there physical pain or any kind?
There is no physical pain.
Is there any risk involved to switch on that a parent should be aware of?
No, there is no risk involved. It's just that it might happen that sometimes when an audiologist on, some children can have a flickering in the eye. The audiologist should check
Yeah.
for that. When an audiologist switch on the device, he should give the soft sound as well as a very loud sound. A very loud clap will also help, and should check whether the ear which has implanted the eye should not flick. They not should be flickering.
Yeah.
It flicks
Twitching of
sometimes.
eyes.
If
Yeah.
twitching is there, then the audiologist has to manipulate the parameters. It should not happen. And one more thing I would like to add over here. Initially, when you will put the cochlear implant to the device, every morning the child might cry, might refuse. But this phenomenon should not continue after a month. If it is continuing, then please report it to your audiologist, because there is something
After
wrong.
a month. After a month.
Yes. Because some children, when they hear early in the morning, they show tantrums. But I would say, to be on the safer side, just after 15 days also, if this is happening, just report it to your audiologist. He should take care of this. The child should know. Initially, the child will show, some children show tantrums. Early in the morning, when you put on the device, they show tantrums. But this phenomenon should not continue beyond 1 month. After 15 days, report it to the audiologist. He will take care.
So which means on an average, we accept that children accept this new sound which they are hearing within 15 to 20 days.
Yes. And
Right.
one more point is that if the child is using hearing aids before the cochlear implant for a very long period of time, because we have children who were using
Yes.
hearing aids for 5 to 6 years before they go for the surgery,
Yeah.
and candidacy criteria has also increased. So moderately severe loss cases, they are also going for the implant.
Yeah.
So it might happen that parents might feel कि अरे हमारा बच्चा तो hearing aid से तो ये भी सुनता था, वो भी सुनता था, अब implant से तो ये कुछ भी नहीं, ये नहीं सुन रहा, इस बात का जवाब नहीं दे रहा, उस बात का जवाब. Don't worry, because how the child was hearing with the hearing aid and how the child is hearing with the cochlear implant, both the processes are different.
Yeah.
Suppose we are North Indians. If I learn Tamil and I try to speak Tamil, my accent will be very much different than the person who is from Tamil Nadu.
Yes.
The same word, Ruchika or Chetna, will be said
Ruchika.
differently. Yeah, it will be sounding differently. The same happens in a cochlear implant and in a hearing aid. Hearing aid is amplifying the sounds and giving it to the child. Right?
Yeah.
Cochlear implant is not amplifying the sound. It is taking the sounds inside the processor. Processor manipulates the signal depending upon your mapping, whatever the audiologist have done, and then it gives the signal inside. Then the implant stimulates the auditory nerve, and the auditory nerve takes the signal to the brain. So both the systems are very different.
Very different.
So please don't panic and don't think that my child is not listening with the implant. He used to do this with the hearing aid. He used to do that. He will do much better than what he was doing with the hearing aid. That
So-
I can assure you.
Ruchika, have you done switch on only for children in our country, or there have been people who have heard before, adults who have heard before, who were hearing before, and then they have lost their hearing and then gone in for implant. So what has their
Post-lingual
feedback?
adults.
Yeah. So what has their feedback been? Like, what do they hear?
Initially, they feel that it's a very different way to switch on adults and children. With adults, it requires lot of counseling. We have to counsel them that initially, because they know what is hearing. Our children, they don't know what is hearing. So whatever you will give to them, they will accept it. But adults won't accept because they know what natural hearing was. So initially, they all feel that only noises are coming. But after a month, they also, carry on.
They must be so scared. They might be feeling like, oh God, I'm duped of my hearing. I don't know what they put in.
We don't take adults like that. We do lot of counseling. We do lot of tell them to write what we have told them, because afterwards what you have told them and what they feel is how much they have perceived what you have told them is entirely different. So
And Chetna, yeah, and there is a proper rehabilitation auditory training for
yes,
that. You know,
for them.
not
They
only for
should go
children.
for it.
Yes, and then
So
once
they
they
have
get in,
what I think what children need is something called is a conditioning that we have to repeatedly do these things with the children. So it's a conditioning thing, and probably adults they will need a rehabilitation to for
Yes.
them to
Yes.
yes,
that the new form of listening. So
Yes.
okay, so these are two different phenomena that you may be experiencing at the time of switch on. I feel.
Yeah. It's entirely a different switch on with the adult. It's entirely
Okay,
different.
so but one big myth has been cleared that switch on doesn't have any risk, right? So it's not a risky thing that parents need to be worried about. There is no risk involved. I remember I used to panic at the time of that when I had my first switch on happening, I was panicking. Like I not sure what to expect because I didn't have any information about what to expect and what the child would go through during switch on. Didn't have. So this kind of information is really good, Ruchika. Parents, if
Yeah.
you'll have any questions, listeners, if you'll have any questions related to switch on, please feel free to ask right now. You can chat with us. There's a chat box to your right hand corner. You can send us your questions here, and we'll address it right now during the discussion. Ruchika, let's continue.
Yeah. After the switch on, the audiologist let the child and the parents go around for some time. We have to explain the kit also that day. Some clinics they do it one day before the switch on. Some people they do it afterwards. But we do what practice I follow is because you have to teach them the on and off button. So and they if you start just with explaining the kit to the parents, they won't listen because they want to spend time with their child.
yeah,
So, if your audiologist is not allowing you, tell him that please let us 15 minutes with our child, and then only we come to you, and then you explain the kit to us. So go out with your child after the switch on, and spend some time with the child. Feel how is he listening. You will actually enjoy. And after 15 minutes, come back to the clinic and get the further.
This
tips.
brings an idea, Ruchika. Why don't we share? Is it possible to share some switch-on videos with our parents on Hear Me Speak?
Right now, I will do it, but right now, I'm not.
No, we'll do it later on. We'll put it up
Yeah,
on our
sure.
blog. We have our blog, Hear Me Speak blog. Why don't we have some, really nice videos on these switch-ons?
Sure.
I'm sure parents would be very happy to see these videos. It would be a very nice
I had a bad experience while switch on. My daughter, she really screamed, she howled, and she wanted to take off everything, and she was pulling her ear. So I got a feeling that my daughter is getting some kind of currents, some shocks.
Exactly. That's
So
what I was asking.
I told my audience, what have you done to my child? Why is she screaming so much? So I still remember it was a tough day for us, in fact. And
Now we all are experienced, so we take care of this. I do already counsel, before starting
Yeah.
to switch on, we counsel the parents. Don't worry if your child cries. We are not giving any currents to him. It is a good sign if your child cries. This means that he is listening. So
Yeah.
you should clap if your child cries.
Yeah.
So Ritu, now that such information is available, I think we will
True.
not have such bad experiences by the parents. So yeah, so that's good. Okay, let's continue. Chika, with
So
the
after you come, after spending 15 to 20 minutes, when you come back to an audiologist, the audiologist will explain the kit to you. The tips for you is, if both the parents should listen to what audiologist is saying, and give the child to somebody else, if you have somebody. If you don't have, then please let the child outside with one of the parents, and one parent listen to the audiologist. Because it is very important, because if something goes wrong, if a slight button goes here and there, you will get panic. What
Yeah.
has happened? So make your own notes, make the children away, listen to the audiologist carefully, be comfortable with your audiologist, ask as many questions from your audiologist as you can. He will not feel bad. He will love to answer all your queries and worries. So please be open to your audiologist and make your own notes whatever he's saying, because you small things, I know it creates panics in, and then you cannot come to the clinic. You keep on calling to the audiologist, to the surgeon, so this has happened, that has happened. You know, it creates a mess. The beautiful journey starts with bad experiences. So to avoid all these things, you should make your own notes, make the children away. Ideally, both the parents should attend. If both the parents cannot attend, then whoever is attending should be very attentive and be open to your audiologist.
Yeah.
Listen to the warranty policies. Listen to the warranty policies. Ask for the warranty policies from your audiologist. It's
Very good
important.
point. Yeah.
You should know. You should remember your date of implant, date of switch on, speech processor number, and your implant serial number. These 4 things will cover your warranty policy, because your registration is done by the clinic, not by you. So sometimes it might happen that your form is misplaced. If you have these 4 things with you, then you will never have any problem. I will
All this
again
information is available on the kit?
Yes.
The box that they give, all this information is there?
Yes, it is there. If you
So don't throw away the
your
box.
Ask
So don't
your
throw away the
audiologist.
boxes.
Ask your audiologist how to look for the serial numbers.
Yeah.
Ask your audiologist. Implant serial, I'll again repeat, date of implant, date of switch on, implant serial number, and speech processor serial number.
Yes.
All the companies work with these 4 things. All the companies. So note down these 4 things. Jot it down. Ask your audiologist where it is written, where to look for these things, serial numbers and all. Okay. Then it starts with the processor. This is how most of the processors look like. Almost in all the companies, the processor look like. Know
Yes.
the parts. This is an ear hook. These are the buttons. Some processors will have LED lights in it. Some will not have. Almost all the 3 major companies, Cochlear, Medal, and Advanced Bionics, they have LED lights on their processors. Know the LED lights. It's very important. You know, the audiologist can on these LED lights and can switch off these LED lights depending upon the settings. If I go on the adult setting, it will not show much LED lights. The basic processors, they don't show. If I do it on the pediatric setting, it will show. Initially, they should be on the pediatric setting, because the child is not tuned to listening. He will not tell you when the battery went off, or if there is any fault of cable and something. The child is not hearing, he will not inform you. So make sure that if at all LED option is available in your processors, it should be on, and it can be on only by the audiologist in the software. So make sure that your LED, if at all it is available in your processor, it should be on. LED means lights on the processor.
Yeah.
Right? Then there are buttons, on and off buttons. They are very small buttons. Please make the notes. And then this is a coil and a cable. This coil, it will fit like this, and the hearing aid will fit like this. Implant processor will fit like this. And then don't do twisting of this cable. These cables are very delicate and they are very expensive.
Yeah.
Always hold it like this. Always.
Very
Don't
nice.
do this.
Yeah. Very important.
Always hold them like this. Then the battery compartments are there. The chargers are available. The audiologist will explain you how you can on the processor, how you can off the processor, how you can change the programs on the processors, and how to change the batteries. Learn from him how to recharge the batteries. How much time? Many a times it happens that the parents, they charge the battery throughout the night. You know, every cell has a cycle.
Ruchika,
Yeah.
I think
This is very important.
Ruchika, I think we have just a time check. We have another
Okay.
15-20 minutes
Okay,
on
I'll
this
just touch on.
subject. So
So
let's
just
let's talk
whatever.
about. Do you want to take a processor and handling of processor and maintenance in a next session? We can do
No,
that,
I'll just complete it. I'll just move on fast then.
or we'll
So
move on
sorry.
to mapping in the next session.
Yeah,
Whichever
yeah.
way you want.
No, it's just 2 minutes left for this.
Okay.
So just that whatever your audiologist is explaining to you, make your own notes on it, right? Then after the switch on, in switch on, the mapping also the audiologists do. And then the frequent mapping sessions are required. What basically is mapping? The mapping is it's basically manipulating your speech processor. It is basically a small computer which the audiologist is manipulating. There is something called threshold and the comfort levels. I'm not going into details because it's not required also as a parent to know. One thing I would like to be clear that every parent will ask, Madam, इसका आपने बढ़ा दिया और बढ़ा दिया. Mapping is not like बढ़ा दिया या कम कर दिया. You may have lower levels than me, but I might hear better than you. The mapping should be appropriate to the child. It is not बढ़ा दिया या कम कर दिया. It should be appropriate to the child. And that is why the frequent sessions are needed so that we reach what is required for the child.
When is the first mapping done? After how many days of?
First is a switch on. Then the initial mapping happens after a week.
After a week.
Okay.
Okay.
For 1 month, it happens within a week.
Okay.
After that, it happens once in 15 days.
Within a week for 1 month, then once in 15 days.
15 days, then once in 3 months, then once in 6 months, and then yearly.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this audiologist can change because some children, they don't want to put, they are not cooperative. So we have to call them very frequently. Or some are very outstation patients. We have to fix them fast so that they can go to their hometown. This is the basic criteria or a basic protocol I could say.
Yeah.
But it can be changed by an audiologist depending upon the circumstances.
Okay.
Right?
So how do you know that this child doesn't need mapping, or is there a, so after 6 months you're saying that the mapping remains same and the child doesn't have to visit the audiologist anymore, or is that the situation?
Yes, he doesn't have to if the audiologist and the speech pathologist is two different persons.
Okay.
In many clinics they are different, but
my question was, is mapping needed for the lifetime of the implant, or it is done in the first year and then it is the same every year, or does it keep changing? Is it needed for the lifetime of the child?
I got it what you are saying. Yes, it is lifetime for the child. Mapping is lifetime for the child. The child should go for a mapping session within an 8 months period or an yearly basis, not later than that. After an year, basically once your mapping is set, your processor is set, the child doesn't require frequent mapping sessions. But still, he should visit the clinic 8 to 12 months ke beech mein, he should go to the clinic and get his processor just checked. Many a times it happens because, the things are moving, child is growing. So many a times it happens that the threshold and the comfort levels, they change drastically. Or this is a routine protocol. But if you feel that the child is not listening properly, there is something happening to the listening part of the child, you should initially report it to the audiologist and go for a mapping session.
Okay. I have a question here. Now, when we talk about mapping, sometimes children, they face with cough and cold issues. Do you think the map changes during that period? Do you think that?
Yes, it does. For some children, it does change.
So which
means, very few.
And what about the middle ear infections or something like that? Does it affect
the infection occurs? No, it doesn't. I tell you what happens. When the child is feeble, he's weak, he's coughing, his thresholds becomes low. not mapping thresholds becomes below, his overall threshold in life becomes low. So he becomes, uncomfortable sometimes with the sound. For a small discomfort, he will create panic. This happens with all of us. If we are
Right.
not well, we behave abruptly. So this happens with children also. But to be on the safer side, if you feel that lot many things are happening, then you should report it to the audiologist and to the surgeon, because middle ear infections, should be under the supervision of a cochlear implant team. The
Yeah.
surgeon should be aware of this.
So,
And again,
this is
one
something
point.
new. This is something new that I didn't know. So every time you have a middle ear infection, you should report it to your audiologist and your cochlear implant surgeon as well.
Surgeon.
So
Yes.
that's
And one more thing, if you notice any redness in this part
Yeah.
where your
Yeah.
auditable is-
there, you should report it to the audiologist or to the surgeon,
Oh.
because it could be the mapping issue, and it could be a magnet issue. The magnet strength is high. Please report it, because the small thing can create a very big thing. It can create an infection and can spoil the implant also. So if you notice any swelling or a redness on the implant side, a small redness also, please report it to the clinic. It is very important.
So parents need to keep a watch on the area near the skull to see if there is a redness happening. Then we should report it to the audiologist. Okay.
And coming back to your question, when you were asking me that mapping, whether, see, one is that the child is growing, the skull size is growing, so his T and the C levels can vary. If you feel, and sometimes what happens is the thickness of this skull is also, the skin is also changing. Hair growth in girls, earlier, so when they were kid, you were cutting their hairs. Now the
Yeah.
hairs are grown up, and the thickness of the skull is also, skin is also increased. So it might happen that this is not providing an adequate strength, the coil magnet. So an audiologist might have to change it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And if you notice that the child is not listening properly, he is missing out the soft sounds, or he is having too much of problems in the noisy environments, or when 2-3 people are talking, then also you should report it to your audiologist. Earlier it was not happening, but now it has started.
Okay.
Now,
Even in the quiet.
yeah. Now, another
Then
thing,
you-
since you mentioned that the child should come on, say, at least after 8 months or a yearly basis. Now, on what basis will you decide that okay, I'll continue the same map, or does a child need a change in the map? So, do you wait for the child's response, or you go online and you check your stuff and
No,
things?
when suppose after 4 years, a child comes to me for a mapping. In our system, it's a protocol that we tell them follow up after a month or after an year within a year. I write always within a year follow up for the mapping session.
Right.
So suppose a child is coming to me after a year for a mapping. I'll ask him how things are going. Do you face any problem? They'll have lot many questions. Now we are school se wo college chale jate hain. Lot many things happens in their life. You try you to listen to them, and then okay, if I feel that there is no problem, I don't think that mapping mein koi problem hoga, but still I will connect them to the software.
Okay.
I will check the impedance. I will calculate the T and the C levels.
Okay.
If there are changes, I will go back. I will make the child, okay, was this comfortable or the earlier sound was comfortable?
Right.
I will check. I will definitely check.
Excellent. Right.
I think it's a very silly question that I'm asking. Just wanted to know is that like mapping has to be done in the same center every year, or it can happen in any different center?
You sometimes move from one city to another city. Yeah. Parents who are on
Can
postings.
happen. It can happen. There is no problem.
So as soon as my processor is attached to your computer, do you get the mapping
I will
from?
get all the maps.
Okay.
I will get all the maps.
Okay.
I will get the recent maps. So if to avoid all these things, sometimes what happens is our old data also get erased. So after every mapping session, tell your audiologist to give you a printout of the map.
Yeah.
Just to give a printout. If he cannot give, just write down on a paper, or you can take a CDX file on a pen drive and save it.
Yeah.
You can take a printout. You can take your
Excellent.
fresh pen drive and take the CDX file. It's your right. It's your
So
map.
that's not a protocol that's to be followed by all the centers, right? It's not a protocol here.
We do it.
See,
we
you,
write it
as a
down.
parent, you should be aware about it, that yes, it is your right. So either you take a printout, or it's better to take a printout and maintain a child's file for mapping separately.
Yes.
So even
Okay.
if you are going,
Just to write it down. Or take a pen drive. Because many centers, they object. Your pen drive must be. We also object to pen drives
Viruses
because
and all
either you get it viruses and all that. So we have a protocol that we give a printout, or
Get a printout.
sometimes the printer is not working, so we write it down. That these are the things. That just 5 minutes, Stop.
Okay.
To write down this mapping.
Okay.
And one more important
It's
thing
important
is bimodal.
to maintain this also. Like for parents, it is necessary to maintain the child's mapping, because now that we know that it's a lifetime thing and we have to keep coming, so it's necessary to maintain. You may have to change centers, so it's necessary to maintain your maps with you, your child's maps with you. So that's also
Yes.
getting information.
It's your, just like your CT scans, they are your reports. So mapping is your report. You have a right on it.
Okay.
And then the second point that I want is that because in our country still we are not on bilateral cochlear implants, we are on bimodal hearing, the hearing aid in the other ear.
yes,
When it should be given, at the time of switch on, 1 week after, when it should be, when the hearing
My
aid.
son is bilateral. Why did we say that we are not in bilateral in our country?
I'm not saying that we are not doing much bilateral.
yeah, she's correct. Everything we are paying from our pocket. Everybody cannot, afford a bilateral implant. So some are using hearing aids on the other side. So it's
So
a
how
very
does
good.
how does this? Okay, Sweetie, we've not touched upon this particular.
If we have time, we can do it, because if you have any questions on mapping and switch on, you can ask me. And if we are over with that, then we can
Parents, I'm sure there might be parents, because if this is a larger segment where parents have hearing, child has a hearing aid and an implant, and what is going to be the switch on experience and how they should be handling it during switch on, whether they should have the hearing aid during the switch on process. So I think this is something, I don't know, Ritu, should we be covering it right now, or should we take in the questions later? Because we just have 5 minutes.
I'll just
We have
because I have a care and the maintenance. Whatever you say.
I think we'll take it up as another session, Ritu. Let's do a part 2 of this where we'll cover.
It's extremely important to do this bimodal discussion, because many parents, because if in India we don't have government assistance for bilaterals, and some parents cannot afford it. So bimodal fittings are so important that we do need to discuss it patiently, and keeping all aspects of it. So I think
Whatever
let's
we discussed was relevant for bilateral and unilateral implants, right? Okay, so let's do the bimodal part of switch on and the experiences and mapping. Maybe in part 2, Ruchika, whenever we can have a schedule it based on your availability. I think we just have 2 minutes left for today's recording. If you have anything more to touch upon for unilateral and bilateral switch on and mapping, let's just finish that. And then if there are any questions from parents, we'll take it, or we'll email you the questions.
Okay, I'll just touch on that. Please take care of your processors. Avoid water and the sweat. In India, we have our children, they sweat a lot. So train your children to sweep the sweat again and again. Give them the cotton hankies. This is what I instruct them. And please use this humidifiers, electric humidifiers. Don't depend upon that boxes which have silica gels in them.
Yeah.
It doesn't help. I can see there is one person calling on my screen. You are also able to see?
Yes, but I would anybody who has to ask a question, please type in a message on the chat box, and we'll ask the question to the expert, because we're not really sure whether the person who is calling in has a video and audio enabled. So we're not allowing callers in. We would ask we are asking our parents who have questions to write their messages on the chat box.
So please use the dry humidifier kit. This increases the life. Every company has it. It's not that you have to buy it from here and there. Every company has it. Please use this dry humidifier kit. It increases the life of the processor. Because in India, our children, they sweat. They sweat a lot. But be careful when you use it. Don't ever put your batteries inside this. This box looks like this.
Yeah.
Sorry. Every company has their different, so I'm not going on the details how to use the box, because every company has their own different box.
We can cover
But
it in
please
another
use
session
it.
if needed.
Yeah, please use it, and don't put your batteries inside this, because it will suck, because all the batteries have the liquid in it, so it will suck it. Basically, its work is to suck whatever liquid has gone inside it, either in the form of a sweat or a water or anything. Just this. And the very first thing is, please make your child wear the cochlear implant throughout the day. Initially, he might show tantrums to you, he might not wear it. Put it down for 5-10 minutes and then again put the device to the child.
I have a question from a parent from on FB asking how long does the first mapping session take?
It depends upon the child to child, but an audiologist should not take more than 15 to 20 minutes, because children are not cooperative for more than that. If it is requiring too much of time, then the audiologist schedule it for the next day. That is what I said, that you may require frequent mapping sessions than the usual protocol. So ideally 10 to 15 minutes, not more than that.
That's the first session. That's the first session.
Every time. If it's taking more than that in our children, the audiologist should shift it to the next. This is what I follow. I don't know what others are following, but because I feel that children don't have that much of concentration.
Yeah.
They will be cranky. They'll create panic, and we want to make this journey smooth and happy. We don't want, then you will remember, switch on में तो ये होता है, mapping session में बच्चा इतना रोता है, ये होता है. So we don't want that bad memory. Let's make it beautifully. Let's spend one more day with the child. What harm in it? Yeah. This is my personal opinion.
During the mapping session, do you all test all the frequencies and?
No. It's not required. It's not all the frequencies. It's the electrodes. Every company has number of electrodes. They differ in all the companies, and they are well equipped. All are advanced. I'm talking about only the 3 major companies. If I'm talking, because others I'm not talking about, because they vary. Medal, Cochlear, and Advanced Bionics. Okay. Yeah. So we interpolate. Only 3-4 are required. In the Cochlear, we have a basal turn for high frequencies and apical 10 and mid electrodes. So we take few from here and there, and then we interpolate. This is a software feature. There were times when we have to map on all the electrodes, but not nowadays. It's not required.
Okay. I'm hoping that on behalf of all the parents, I've asked most of the questions to our audiologist today. If you all have any more questions that you all would like to ask our experts on Hear Me Speak, please feel free to write to us. Ritu, can you give the email ID, please, on which we can ask our parents to send in their questions?
Dr. Ruchika, I would like you to write your email ID on the...
Sure, I'll do that.
Please write your email ID on the chat box over there, Ruchika, so that all the parents get the email ID. And Ritu, you also share our Hear Me Speak email ID. So if any parent wants to get in touch with any of our experts, please feel free to write to us on our email, and we'll put you in touch with our experts with whom you all can have a consultation or talk to them and answer your queries. All the experts on our forum are very helpful, and they are here to support our parents network and answer your questions. So please feel free to write to us. Ritu, Hear Me Speak Gmail ID. What is the Gmail ID?
Yeah, that's the Gmail ID. Hearmespeak.in@gmail.com.
Just write the full ID. Also, for all new joinees today, if you like today's session and would like us to host more sessions of this kind, we would like your feedback. So join us on our Facebook group, which is here. We've posted the Facebook group. Those who have missed today's session, you all can see the video later. We'll be uploading the video onto YouTube and onto our blog. So you can pass on and circulate the video with your friends who may be going into surgery, and parents who may be going, whose kids may be going into surgery, and they may need this information. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Ruchika, for the wonderful information. I think this was a very useful information that we got today. This is very constructive of the time that we've spent today, 1 hour of information that we've acquired. Thanks a lot, Ruchika. On behalf of all the parents on Hear Me Speak, thank you very much, Ritu. And thank you very much, Ruchika.
Thank you to both of you. Thank you to Ritu and Chetna for calling me and letting me share my knowledge with you all. I am a part of this Hear